Hey, this is Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist and host of the podcast SouhanUnfiltered.com on the Alive and Social Network. You can find my writing in the newspaper and on StarTribune.com, and I'm really enjoying the unusual conversations I get to have in this format. The other day I sat down with Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway in the equipment room just off the locker room at Winter Park. When I first started covering the Vikings in 1990, the equipment room was where I killed a lot of time talking with Vikings employees like Dennis Ryan, the longtime equipment manager, one of the hardest working, nicest people you're ever going to want to meet. These days, you kind of need an invitation to get back there. I was lucky enough to be able to go back and sit down with Chad Greenway, who talked about being a father, settling in the Twin Cities, wanting to be a lifelong Viking, and how new coach Mike Zimmer is far different than what Greenway expected. My podcast is part of a new venture called the Alive and Social Network, which includes sports, entertainment, music, and political podcasts. So before my conversation with Mr. Greenway begins, here's a quick movie review from the Rusty Gatenby review on the Alive and Social Network. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Jim. Well, opening this weekend, Wild. No, not the hockey team. The movie, starring Academy Award winner Reese Witherspoon. It's the true life story about a Minnesota woman whose life is falling apart and decides to go on a grueling, life-changing 1,000-mile hike up the Pacific Coast Trail.
This movie was definitely one of the hardest movies I've ever made in my entire life.
Former McGregor High School homecoming queen and University of Minnesota graduate Cheryl Strayed wrote her story into a best-selling novel. Now she can't believe her journey is a movie starring Reese Witherspoon and Laura Dern as her mother.
It's been amazing for me when I was living the experience, taking that hike on the Pacific Crest Trail in 1995. It never occurred to me that it would even become a book, let alone a film.
Wild has beauty, heartbreak, and humor, and Reese Witherspoon is fantastic as Cheryl Strayed. A strong 4 out of 5 stars for Wild. Hey, go see it at the theaters this weekend.
All right, let's start with family life. How many kids now?
Jay and I just had our third daughter in September, so I have a 7-year-old Madden who was born just that first or that second year we were up here, 4-year-old Beckett, and now a newborn Blakely. So 3 girls. They're in the Wayzata school system, my oldest 2, and that's why we love Minnesota. Just great schooling systems, and having kids, you learn to appreciate things like that about a community, things you didn't think about when you come out of college of you, whether you're going to like a place or not. So it's really helped help us love this place.
Now, I'm sure as a young player, you probably had a little fun. Is it go straight home to the kids now?
Yeah, it's certainly changed. I mean, we had married right away when I came. Jenny and I had met in college, and really we had planned to start a family right away. And doing that, I didn't run around too much. Obviously, had some fun, and there's a lot more going on with the guys when I was younger. When you have one kid and could get away a little more. But now your priorities just change. You mature. You figure out what's really important. The reasons why you play the game really change. And your priorities change. So for me, it was, now it's really everything is about, my family. You make every decision based off of that, football decision, contractual decision. Really everything's kind of just surrounded that, and that's it's helped me. It helps you stay focused on things that are important. I think it helps you make the right decisions.
I remember doing a story with Jimmy Kleinsasser right at the end of his career, right before he retired. And, I went out and visited with him at some event out near his house, and, Colin Loeffler was there. And it was like a bunch of guys who just, I don't know what the general public perception of NFL players is, but it was just like these guys who just liked their job, liked living here, and just kind of led really quiet lives. Is that kind of the way yours is going?
Yeah, I'm a good neighbor. I'm always outside doing stuff out, outside in the yard, and so I just try to be as, I guess that you call it, normal. I'm just a regular citizen once I leave this place, and people tend to put you more on a little bit of a pedestal than you want to put yourself on. So when I get home, like I said, having children, you want to be seen as just another person, because you don't want your children to have an inflated view of you or inflated view of themselves because of that, or inflated view of your family. It's important for me to realize or to raise them in a way that they understand to work for their own things and to establish their own ideas and principles, and that's going to be based off the standard that I set, and my wife sets, and it's not a standard of we're above somebody else. It's just we're entertainers really at the end of the day. People pay for our services to come and to watch, to be a fan of, and you just change so much over the years, and yeah, you just try to blend in.
Do your neighbors treat you as just another neighbor?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, we live in a small little area in Wayzata, and the neighbors were, they're all very good, about everything. They got family. They're not sending people down to my door to have stuff signed or anything like that. It's just about about being neighborly and having fun. We'll have a neighborhood Christmas party this weekend coming up, or Friday, and we'll go down there. It's just neighbors and nothing more than that, and talk about things that are going on in the neighborhood, or what's going on with the boat slips, or all those things. So, you have regular problems just like everybody else that you deal with day to day, normal stresses you deal with day to day, and you just try to keep yourself private from the folks that are a little bit crazy about either being a fan or upset about maybe the way a game went or about how you're playing. I mean, you just try to keep yourself distant from those folks because you don't want your family to have to deal with that. Is
there one incident you remember where you had to deal with an angry fan or a difficult fan? Did you knock his hat off?
No, Jim. I think that I think just based on the way you go about your business, you set yourself up for people to generally, even though they may not appreciate the way you play or they may have their opinions of you, when you act a certain way, they're going to give you at least that respect. And I feel like I've tried to put myself in that position that, even if I'm playing some really bad football and the fan base is upset at me for not making this play, not making that play, you're going to be forgiven by your actions in other ways as well. And I think if you're a jerk and act in a certain way in public, you're going to be treated that way. And I've never done that. And I think it's important that when you are a guy that's in the community and the face is on TV, and you want to be an example and a positive example, because you are, whether you want to be a role model or not, you're going to be one because kids are watching. So I think it's important to interact with fans and with the fan base that way.
You've been here a while now, and the Vikings seem to have even increased their efforts to have former players around, to honor them, to have them be part of things. Have you developed any relationships with some of the Vikings greats?
Yeah, I mean, I can't say personal relationships, but you see them around so often and see them at events. And, I've been here 9 years, and, I'd love to be able to finish here now. I mean, so many people say that, so many people want to do that. And, the way Jim Kleinsaucer did, and other people in the past have done it, is to be able to play your whole career in one spot and sort of be, not for Jim, it's, he's like this legendary figure. He was never this guy that went to 6 or 7 Pro Bowls, but he's a Viking. He's the true nature of what a Viking is, and I think that's why the fans loved him so much. And for me, I don't want to play forever. I don't want to put 15 years in this league. It's just too many plays and too many tackles, and I'd like to be able to play 10, 11 years and ride off as a Viking. A Viking for life, and that's the goal. And like you said, you see so many guys that have done that have been around the organization and for long term. I think that'd be something to be really fun to be part of.
And you've seen this organization with all kinds of different faces. I mean, you've seen Childress, you've seen front office changes. Obviously, there's a constant turnover on the roster. Do you have a sense of what it's like to play for the Vikings as opposed to what it's like to play elsewhere? Do you have those conversations with players around the league?
I have. I've had a few of those. I mean, it's hard to get in I've had a good experience here. Our GM, our ownership has always been nothing but upstanding to me and always treated me with respect. So I obviously have a general, very good view of this place. We've dealt with our issues, no doubt. We have, the arrests, and we have the public image that have taken hits in numerous different situations. And for me, you are lumped into that group because you are a Viking. But for me, I've never tried to act that way. I've just tried to do my own thing in a positive way. And, I think it's important for us to look around the league and know there's problems everywhere. So, I think that my experiences here, would have, I think are exceptional, and I anticipate that they do a pretty good job here.
Ziggy, when he talks publicly, I don't think always presents his best face. Rick, who like if I talk to Rick off to the side, he tends to be a really gregarious guy. He's great talking about his kids and all that stuff, but he sometimes seems uptight when he's on a podium. What are those guys like around you?
Yeah, they're themselves. Like I said, knowing them now for 9 years and them invested in me and my family, a couple different times to be a part of this organization. It's important to get around those guys, and they're good guys. They're good people. Ziggy and his family's run a very successful business and done so many great things. But one of his goals was to own a team, and here he is, and trying to do things the right way. obviously taken a ton of heat with the stadium and the funding, and I think he's trying to do things the right way. And in general, when I'm talking to him, they're great people. Rick is, like you said, a family guy. I mean, he's a guy that goes home and the same priorities I just talked about, he has them as well. So. He's got a job, of kind of a thankless job sometimes, a tough job at times. But he's at his core, he's a great guy and a guy that you want really to be successful because he does carry himself the right way.
As a veteran, I'm always interested in how players with some tenure handle the seeming difficulty of being both a player who has to worry about himself and his career and his performance, but also is asked to be something of a mentor. How do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean that's really I've moved into that role really, last year and this year, and wherever I play, hopefully here it'll be ongoing. But it's a process of putting your ego kind of aside and knowing that you're going to pass the torch to somebody eventually. You don't know how that's going to happen. If they're going to slice you, cut you, move out, move you on. If they're going to let you hang around and continue to play if you're playing at a high level and finish your career here. I just think it's important to the guys that are either playing beside you or playing behind you to give them the same opportunities that the guys in front of me did. E.J. Henderson and Ben Lieber were guys that I looked to who were older than them, and I was coming and taking their reps and taking their snaps and moving into my starting my career. And I think it's to see how they handle that just certainly has set me up to be able to handle the same thing if it happens to me. And now that I moved into more of that mentorship, guys, the league's getting younger and I'm getting older, so the team is so young that there's guys that just we're some different planets. I mean, I go home to my children and they have no idea what that's like, and they're going out, they're doing this, they're doing that, and they have only themselves to worry about, and so I can't relate to them in every way, but in a way to know that I've gotten to 9 years and done it the right way. If they want those things, then I'm certainly willing to give my advice on how I do it, why I do it, the consistency that you have to show every day, and the kind of person I think you need to be.
In the early 90s, I was friends with Dave Huffman, offensive lineman, from Notre Dame, played in the USFL, came here, mostly a backup here, but played a little bit. And I remember talking to him or playing golf with him, and he would have to eat handfuls of Advil just to get through a round of golf. And this wasn't a guy who was an every down player, but He just hurt all the time. He used to tell me sometimes took him half an hour to get out of bed. What's your body like after 9 years in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the same as you were when you were 25, 22, 23. It's 9 years, and I missed my first year, but you have the surgery, and then really I've played straight since then, not really missing anything except for a couple this year. And I really feel pretty good. I've had multiple knee surgeries, and one knee, I have no cartilage in my left knee, on the lateral side. So I mean, it's bone on bone essentially. Everybody knows what that means. You're going to a knee replacement eventually, and it's part of the game that you don't want to let the game take too much from you. And I've like I said, it's knowing when to say when, and I think knowing when to quit because you're quitting for the right reasons for your family because you want to be a whole. And for me, I've stayed for the most part pretty healthy, but the game takes a lot from you physically. So my body feels good, but at what point is it going to be the tipping point where it's just you feel crappy all the time? And I don't want to be there.
When do you make that decision? This off season, following off
season?
Yeah,
I'm in 9 years, and I think my goal has always been once I got to year 4 or 5 that I really want to play a decade, 10 years, and I think not to the point where you're just hanging on, like really making a difference on the field and being able to be yourself. We've financially we're secure, and we've done a good job that way, and been smart with our money, and have really set ourselves up for a future. So the nice part is you're not making a decision based off money. You're kind of making a decision based off health and what's best for the family. I know my daughters would kill me if I just decided to hang out this year and be done. I don't think that's an option. I want to play for sure one more year, and then I think at this point just kind of year to year and see what happens. So I think that's one of those decisions you got to make as a family and kind of understand all the circumstances that come with it.
Evaluating football players from the outside is really hard. How would you evaluate yourself this year? What kind of grade would you give yourself?
B. I'd say B plus to be fair. I've done a lot of good things. I've been asked to change roles and change positions and do things, but I feel like the injury really slowed me down. The ribs were really hard to deal with and to play with. As I had a great training camp, my body was feeling good, and I was really kind of ready and primed for one of my better years. I really thought that and felt that way. But things happen. The game. You get hurt. You can't do anything about it. So to live in reality, I would say, have I played my best football? No. Do I think that I can still play really good football? Absolutely. And I think right now I'm playing as good as I've played probably all season.
Let's switch gears here. I got to know a couple of guys in the band, The Last Ride. Hey, somebody told me you knew them or liked them.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Tom had told me that. I'm trying to think. I don't think
somebody
so.
mentioned that you were like a big fan of theirs, and I met them.
What kind of music is it?
It's kind of, I would say it's pop country or kind of modern country.
Okay. Yeah, I'm an all country, all encompassing, loving country.
And
music.
they're really good. And somebody linked you guys, and I couldn't figure out what the link was, so
I'd probably like them. I'll check them out.
Yeah. I'm going to throw some names at you, and just give me a quick thought.
Okay.
And if I'm putting you on the spot, you can say pass. We'll move on.
Okay.
Mike Zimmer.
Intense. Passionate.
North Turner.
Wise.
Mike Tomlin.
Awesome coach. Loved playing for him for 1 year.
Brad Childress.
Very good coach. Thought it ended wrong. I was hoping he would be here longer. I thought he was doing a lot of good things.
Kleinshauser.
Legend. One of my favorite players ever.
Steve Hutchinson.
Legend. A guy that just did things the right way. A guy that taught the younger guys how to do it.
And we're very good on Twitter also, by the way.
Yes.
It's very important
very
these
funny.
days.
Yeah.
Matt Burke.
Same way. For me, just to look up to him. Legend. A guy that just paved the way for other guys to do things the right way. He's just an awesome guy.
Randy Moss.
Stud in so many ways. When he was here, I learned a lot from him to watch him. Not all good things, but a guy that has certainly got some amazing physical abilities.
I know you guys didn't overlap, but Chris Carter, you know enough about him.
I know enough about him that all he does is catch touchdowns. And, a guy that certainly has his opinions now, but, physically extremely gifted.
All right, let's go to some fun questions I usually wrap these things up with.
Right.
Give me a broadcast news. Give me something, a TV show or a movie you're high on.
I'm into Hell on Wheels, which is an AMC show.
I've heard about it. Haven't watched it
really good.
yet.
It's in its 4th season, and Sons of Anarchy, which I know everybody's watched and is in. I'm a season behind, so I don't want to.
Okay, I won't tell you what's going on.
Yeah, I'm just starting season 6, so it's phenomenal TV. And we don't watch a lot of TV, so it's hit or miss when I get a chance to watch it.
Sons of Anarchy is amazing.
Yes,
it really is. And by the way, Justified. You would
Justified.
love
Is
Justified.
that good? Okay.
Elmore Leonard was one of my favorite novelists, and he created this character, Raylan Givens, who's basically he's like a gunslinging sheriff in the wrong century.
Nice.
It's unbelievable. It's the best written.
I'll check that out.
I love Sons of Anarchy, and Justified is even way above that.
Wow.
You
I'll
would
check it
love
out. I will do that.
People yell at you about, either on the internet or in person.
Don't do the internet for anybody. Don't tweet. Don't do Twitter. People yell at me about
get on you.
Wanting more milk, wanting more snacks, to pick my shoes up where I left them. I don't get yelled at much. I get yelled at home. That's about the only place.
Favorite sport other than football?
Right now, it's probably soccer because that's what my girls do,
Okay.
and that's the reason I love it. I coach them in baseball and soccer, so I love doing it for them and with them. So I would say that. But growing up, it was basketball. I was a basketball player until football chose me.
Favorite Minnesota sport other than the Vikings or team?
Wild.
Oh, Wild. Okay.
Yeah, Wild Twins, probably a tie. I go to more Twins games because it's closer.
Do you know any guys off those teams?
I do know. I mean, not personally, not well, but I know them. I've been to on the field or on down by the rink and met them, but not well.
You would love Parisi and Suter.
Yes, I've heard that.
They're good dudes.
Yeah, good guys.
Very, very subtle. They don't really show it a lot. Great sense of humor too.
Well, I think that and those guys. I know Parisi lives out by us in the lake, so I just haven't had a chance to link up yet. But I'm sure we will.
Yeah. I finished this question, which I answer so often. I was wrong about.
Oh boy. Yes, you answer this often.
Yes. Every day I can tell you something I was wrong about.
Oh man. I was wrong about the way that Coach Zimmer would handle us as players. He handles us as professionals. He gives us breaks when he knows we need them. He's really been good at that, and I thought he was going to be harder.
And because of the hard knocks, or because of reputation around the league?
I think reputation, and I think maybe just my what I thought he was that he wasn't. He loves football and loves coaching, but he understands his team and when to pull off, and he's done a phenomenal job at that.
I found that really interesting because a couple of weeks ago, I think the Wall Street Journal had a story about how the Eagles and the Packers had changed their practice weeks, and and had found it to really help their players out. Practicing on Saturday, giving them Monday and Tuesday off, like doing deep tissue massages on Friday. And I brought that to Zimmer and said, have you ever considered this stuff? And he basically said, yeah, I've considered all of it, and I'm probably going to implement a lot of it.
Right.
Have you seen some of that?
Yeah, he's open to stuff. He
Yeah.
wants to win. He wants to be great, and I think that he's not one of these guys that you've been around, certainly, that they're going to do it their way and they don't really care what anybody else thinks. I think he's a guy that knows there's other ways to do it, and he may not be doing it the right way, and he's willing to try something in effort to win. And I think that's what's fun about him is, just knowing and seeing how the defense has come along statistically and how we've played, that the team is going to follow.
Last question. So you're a country music guy. Who do you like?
Well, Garth Brooks, I got to go see him,
Oh, good.
this a couple weeks ago, or a month ago. Eric Church, I'm a huge fan of Eric Church. And then I love a lot of old country, so Johnny Cash and
love Johnny
Waylon
Cash.
Jennings. There's not really anything in country realm that I won't listen to.
How about blank, Zach Brown Band?
Zach Brown's good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them live yet, but I've heard they're awesome.
They're really good.
I love their stuff, so I'm sure they'd be great live.
And I don't know if you're probably not a Foo Fighters guy, but there's
A little bit, absolutely.
Dave Grohl is
yeah.
doing the. Have you seen the Sonic Highway series?
No.
He basically picks out a city that influenced the band, either because the band members there, because they visited there, and they go around the country and they cut one track for the new album there while showing the influences.
Sweet.
And Grohl and Zach Brown met at a music awards thing. Zach Brown asked Dave Grohl to produce his record. So Grohl goes to his studio in Nashville, starts producing his record, and right before he starts says, by the way, I've never heard any of your music.
Wow.
But then they get along great. They end up cooking out and making great music.
What
It's
a
awesome
story.
stuff. And I love the old stuff. I love Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash.
Yes, yeah, it's it's something that I grew up in the country, obviously in the middle of nowhere, so I appreciate what the songs mean, and I know all the stories. I've been there and lived them, so it helps.
And last question, and this is really the last question: will you head back to the Dakotas, or will you stay here after you're done?
Most likely be here, if not here, someplace warm. But
Or both.
Yeah, or both. Yeah, South Dakota. My wife's from Illinois, Chicago.
Okay.
So South Dakota's got too few people, too few restaurants and malls.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that to her. So so right now we love it here. I mean, it's going to kind of probably play in how our career ends and the opportunities that are here. But I can see myself being a Minnesotan for a long time.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, Chad. Thank you,
Yes,
man.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Appreciate it.
That, of course, was Chad Greenway, the Vikings linebacker, hoping to get a 10th year with the Purple. Thanks to Chad for taking the time to speak with me and the Vikings for setting that up. One of the most interesting things about being an older sports writer, I'm 51 years old now, been in the business for, good Lord, about 30 years, is that you get to watch people grow up. You watch firsthand as they evolve from rookies into adults. My last two guests, Glenn Perkins and Chad Greenway, are pretty good examples of this. Thanks for listening. I'll have more podcasts available at SouhanUnfiltered.com soon.